Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
First of all, thank you for those of you who are still watching, right? Again, I want to emphasize that this is something that we're talking about, not just to tell your story, Jennylyn, but we're doing it so that people can be aware that this stuff exists. And in my work, Jennylyn's not the only one who I've come across who has stuff happened, okay, or is stuff happening. And this is not some, science fiction type stuff or, some horror movie. It is real. And your audience, needs to understand this and educate themselves and know that even though they are believing in a higher protection, they believing in a higher source, that darkness still exists. And I want them to not be afraid of it if they encounter it, but seek help instead. Okay. I mean, that's the main purpose of us doing this segments, right? Is to just educate so that they know that this stuff exists and that they can take action if they find themselves in a similar position, or if they even have questions. This doesn't have to look the same as your life does. Yours is an extreme version of things, okay? And you've mentioned this before, Jennylyn, right? When people have, bad luck all of a sudden and they don't understand why, or all of a sudden, they have some sort of illness and they don't know what's going on, why, and no doctor can find out why there's an illness. I'm not saying that every time you experience this, or someone experiences that, this is a dark magic or anything like that, or a dark entity, but it is something they should be considering. Okay, it would certainly be on my list of things to consider if I was in that position. And that's basically what I want to leave your audience today with. So. Thank you.
I thought I'd just have you say hello, and then I'll share this, and then we can go from there, because I am sure you will want to build on what I'm sharing. So I know that the last couple of weeks we mentioned that Sandra Tong was rendered null and void. Well, she has gotten helpers, her Chinese helpers in my neighborhood. And I'm going to share something so that Sandra Tong, if she's watching, will know that I know her scavengers are watching when I put out my trash to go through my trash, looking for my personal items. You see, whatever she had of mine in her collection that she was using to do her evil tricks, Mel destroyed them. And so now they're scrambling and apparently haven't got anything. Well, I haven't got personal items of mine. And so this week I came home from work and I was actually talking to Mel. I was parked outside of my house in my car for a good half an hour speaking to Mel. And my neighbor had already put the trash cans outside, but my trash was not in the pails because I had just come in from work. And they had been sitting on the side of the street for probably an hour. And I came into the house after Mel and I hung up the phone, and then went back outside to put my trash in the pail. And as I was about to take the trash out, I heard a voice telling me not to take my regular trash because I didn't have much, that I should wait until next week and just take my cans and bottles. So that's what I did. And as I was closing the door, I heard my guides tell me, go back outside. I'm like, why are they telling me this? Did I leave something there? And as I opened the door, Sandra Tong's scavengers were going through the bag of cans, hadn't even been put there 5 minutes. And I ran back out yelling at the woman, but by the time I got there, she had taken some of what I had put out, some of my empty cans, and she took off. And later that night, which was the night of a full moon, Mel had to go and disrupt one of the sacrifices that Sandra Tong's scavengers were doing. These people can't help themselves. They're so evil that they've gotten so used to controlling other people's lives using dark magic that they just can't stop. So that's the Sandra tongue, and Mel will elaborate on that. And then on Friday at work, I got a call from Holland. So Mel has also pretty much crippled Arjen T Bouwman's ability to do what he was doing. And so now he is sort of panicked and angry and running out of abilities to continue to do what he was doing. So at my work, I get a phone call from a Dutch area code, and I answer it. The person asked me for someone who didn't work there. So I knew it was a prank call, to tell you the truth. I guess my intuition alerted me to this. And as I hung the phone up, I got a massive attack, which I called Mel, and she cleared. So Mel, for now, that's what I wanted to start today's segment with. And if you want to elaborate on these two stories, then the ball's in your court.
Okay. Well, I am going to go first to the story with the Chinese person who went through your trash, right? First off, we have to understand that on Friday, yesterday, was a full moon, okay? And I believe I've mentioned this before, but when it comes to magic, in witchcraft of any kind, including dark magic, is the celestial, bodies are used very much in, amplifying. That's the word I'm looking for. The magic that is being created. So therefore, in other words, magic is often done on full moons and new moons and so forth. Okay, and other times too, but especially the full moon is used. So that said, we knew from past experience that they usually come around on full moons and do certain rituals. And so we were preparing ourselves. And most certainly them going through your trash tipped us off, right? Tipped me off.
Really?
So I told my spirit team in not so certain terms, okay, let me know what it is that I need to do to counteract what this person did. Now, I want to speak quickly on it. This is not the same Chinese woman who you have a picture of, who you took a picture of. This is a different. Okay, we have not heard or seen that other person around. Okay, no. Somehow she is not in the picture right now. Anyhow, so later that night, it wasn't immediately, but later in the day, yesterday, I was asked to energetically go where this person is. Okay, and what I found was that these people had two animals, two chickens that were in cages. And I was told that these two chickens were going to be sacrificed, okay? And I know this is a tough subject, but that's what they do. And we've had this before, okay? And this is not even the big deal. But to say the least, I knew that I had to do something with these chickens. Now, your audience might think, what do you do when you encounter this? Well, the whole purpose of it is to take away the dark magic, what did my spirit team call this? They anointed the animal with darkness so that it could take on whatever form or whatever purpose it needed to. That's kind of how this works. So in order for me to intervene, I sort of interrupt this anointing process, or I dismantle it. Okay, so I did that. And interestingly enough, I don't know, I have no proof of this, but I was shown as I was dismantling these two chickens, this process that they created, this Chinese woman, started having convulsions. That's what was shown to me. So it was my understanding at this very moment that these two animals were directly linked to her, and that she was going to do this ritual in connection with them, and therefore was affected when I took their, energy or whatever it is that they're try to create. When I took that away, I inadvertently affected her. Okay, so we haven't heard anything since, and to be honest with you, we have not had any effects coming from that side. Okay, so it's something I must have effectively dismantled whatever I needed to do. Okay, but that wasn't the only thing, right? That wasn't the only thing we encountered yesterday. And of course, going back to what it is that you said initially about the phone call, I do believe, and I confirm to you that this phone call was in order for somehow to connect your voice or your presence to whatever it is that they're doing. Again, I am not, a witch. I do not know these things. I'm not skilled in witchcraft. I just know when I find something how to dismantle it, or I'm being guided to how to dismantle it. Okay, so I can't speak on how this works. I'm not an authority on this. But nonetheless, I knew that whatever they were doing with this phone call was adding or aiding some sort of spell or something. And we effectively also dismantled that, right? And we did more. And I don't know if you want to speak on that with the people in LA. I don't know if you want to talk.
I was thinking about it while Mel was speaking. Something else happened. It was a full moon, and it's supposed to be a full moon or a new moon? A full moon?
A full moon, yes.
Full moon. And apparently, because this full moon occurred on the 11/11, November 11th portal, it was supposed to be a very powerful time to manifest what you wanted. And I'm learning all this stuff because I'm dealing with this. And apparently, there was another sacrifice that was being performed by the woman that Mel and I mentioned last week in Los Angeles, that was somehow brought on to dismantle me. And it's a hard one. I don't know. It involved a little person. So I think you guys are getting the picture. I'm going to leave it here and hear how Mel wants to tell you about that one.
Okay. And I'm going to ask my spirit team to be able to tell your audience it in such a way that is appropriate, okay? Because there are things that we cannot speak about on here, not only because, we don't want to give it away for the book, but more so some of the things are so incredibly dark that we just cannot say.
Subject you to that.
Correct. But here's a little backstory. Earlier in the day, yesterday, her and I were talking in the morning. We do frequently talk on the phone whenever we get a chance to sometimes, just speak about things and sort of, rub our heads together to find things and
more often than not, clear things off of me.
Right, correct. So we were doing that yesterday morning, and during the conversation, a voice came through, and I said to Jennylyn, who is that? Was that you? Or I just heard a female voice. It was almost through the ethers. Something was coming through. And she said, I didn't hear this. I said, well, a female voice just came through. And I didn't know who that was. And my spirit team wasn't giving me any information, so I had to put it aside. Okay. Now, we completely forgotten about it until later in the day, right? When you and I were talking again, when all of a sudden that voice came through.
Driving home from work. I was driving home from work.
Right.
I'll tell them this part quickly and then you finish it. And I'm speaking to Mel because I need to be cleared again. The Dutchman always attacks me when I'm in the car. And so Mel and I are talking and I go, Mel, I just heard a woman's voice. And she goes, what? And I said, I just heard a female voice. And I go, do you think it's Rita? And she checked and she goes, no, it's not Rita. And then at the same time, I felt someone pat my head on the left side. And I said, Mel, I just felt somebody rubbing the left side of my head. And we couldn't figure out who it was. And so I I kept driving, and Mel and I continued to talk. And then when I was almost at my home, Mel said, what you heard the person say, and that's how we connected the dots.
Correct. So for some reason, I tuned in even further into, I wanted to know what this person was, and I heard my son. Those are the only words I heard. And I thought, is this the mother of Dutchman? Is she still alive? I don't even know. Is this the mother of, whose son are we talking about here, right? And now, I didn't put two and two together at the time, but here's what I found out earlier in the day. I knew that the woman, the dark witch that I mentioned in, the last segment, in LA, was planning on doing something with a young person, and this young person was a young boy. Okay.
Maybe if you use the word sacrifice, they'll follow better what you're saying.
Yes. Okay.
Sacrifice.
Okay, gotcha. Well, that's exactly what they were going to do. So there's no nice way of saying that.
Right.
And so I didn't even put two and two together. But what we finally came to understand, that we were actually being, or the female voice that tried to get through to us was the boy's mother. The boy's mother, who's predeceased, okay, also a victim of some sort of this organization that starts with the letter I, not in the same context, but she came through because she wanted us to save her son. And I knew what I needed to do, okay? And I say this because I've done this before. I've done this with the other one the last time, okay, with the young female, with the young girl. I just didn't know when. And at that point, I told my spirit team, I said, listen, it doesn't matter if you have to wake me up in the middle of the night. I don't care what you have to do, okay? Whenever it's time that you think I need to intervene or do something, wake me up, let me know, whatever I need to do. And they said, fine, what we'll do. And all evening, I wasn't asked to do anything. And when I went to bed, I reminded them, I said, please, okay, if there's anything going on, please let me know. And the only reason why I was concerned about nighttime is because California is 3 hours behind in time difference, okay? And I know that rituals like to be done at midnight, okay? They like the midnight hour, okay?
Okay.
So that's, and on the midnight hour on the day of the full moon is powerful, right? So would you know that exactly at like 3:08 or 3:09 that night, a.m., I was woken up out of a dead sleep. And the first thing in my mind was like, the boy. It's as if somebody had put that into my head. I was wide awake, and I said, okay, tell me what I need to do. And well, I did. I went in energetically, and I'm going to explain something to your audience that I have now experienced firsthand that I have not experienced before. And what we mean by what these reptilians and these demonic entities do with these sacrifices. Okay. Now, very sensitive subject, trigger warning here. So I was, in not so easy terms, made to witness what was happening to the boy. The only good thing about it for me was that it was a little fuzzy, so I didn't see all the details, and I wouldn't want to, but I knew when what happened was done. Okay, let's put it that way. And here's what I will describe to your audience. Okay, the entire time I was energetically there, ready, and I was told to be ready. Okay, and I was ready, and I don't know, they did not know I was there. Nobody recognized that my presence was there. I don't know how. Maybe I was shielded. I have no idea, but I was there energetically. And as soon as the boy's soul left his body, there was this creature, this entity from the side that snatched it, the soul up. That's the best I can describe it. And at that very moment, I snatched it back. That's the best way I can describe it. This is how it all unfolded. And I was sort of tugging at it a little bit. And then the creature let go, and I took the boy's soul and I moved it on. I do move on deceased people. I've done this in the past. Okay, I've gone places and just moved on, soldiers from battlefields and so on. So I know what this process looks like, but I haven't had the need to actually go in physically and take this soul and snatch it away from this entity that was going to take it wherever for whatever purpose. And I think this is one of those instances, Jennylyn, that you and I keep talking about. This is a soul that would have gone into the system, those souls that we are trying to constantly reroute, right? That are coming and being rerouted to the cosmos, to source, where they should go. And that's what I'm talking about. So I think they made me see this firsthand. I have intervened in other times, but I was never made aware of a creature sitting there like that. And it might have been different than the other times, I'm thinking now, because whatever it is that they were trying to do, the spell of it or the ritual of it was different. I cannot speak for that, but this is exactly how they do things when they sacrifice animals, when they sacrifice human beings. Okay.
So that was very difficult for Mel and I, because now we are aware. Oh my God, I just heard his voice.
Oh, Dutchman?
Yes.
Oh, wow. You could discern it was him?
Yes. Well, everyone's heard it. It's on tape.
Good.
Anyway, now we know what is really behind the reason that I have been going through all of this. I guess I agreed to come to the earth to play a part in this. Mel and I have gone down a rabbit hole that we need a new adjective. If you guys have a new adjective besides unbelievable, please send it to us, because we say, oh my God, unbelievable like a million times a day because of the things that are happening. It was really important that we share that with you, because I'm sure you've all heard of human with the T word attached to it. And I think we're starting to connect the dots on why humans are being the T word, because they'll pull this video down if I use those two words together. The other thing that we wanted to share with you, and I will get to that, but I wanted to say something to you today, because I know that a lot of people have fallen off the bandwagon with this series because it got too intense for them. And I get it. There's nothing easy to digest with what we share, but nothing we shared has been contrived, made up. Everything we share with you, if I'm thinking I'm crazy, Mel is there to tell you she's also experiencing it. So if cognitive dissonance is getting in the way of dealing or listening to this, today I'm going to share with you that I stumbled upon a video this week where Tucker Carlson, who is a well-known journalist, if you don't know him as the independent journalist that he is now, you might have seen him on Fox News, because he was one of Fox News's very famous reporters. And he had a demonic attack. And he described it exactly like one of mine. As a matter of fact, he talked about these demons scratching him on his arm and waking up and feeling this pain and discovering. And I'll insert his video into this. I'm going to embed it in this video so you can hear what he shared for yourself.
In my bed at night, and I got attacked while I was asleep with my wife and 4 dogs in the bed and mauled physically mauled.
In a spiritual attack by a demon?
Yeah, by a demon. Or by something unseen that left
Is that right?
claw marks on my sides, on my...
So it left physical marks?
Oh, they're still there. Yeah. I was totally confused. I woke up and I couldn't breathe. And then I had these terrible pains, and I had 4 claw marks on either side underneath my arms and on my left shoulder, and they're bleeding.
Wait, they were bleeding?
They're bleeding, yeah. No, actual claw marks. And I sleep on my side, so I wasn't clawing myself. I don't have long nails. And they didn't fit my hands anyway. So I called my assistant, who was like the only evangelical Christian I know, well enough to call with something bizarre like that. She said, oh yeah, no, that happens. Yeah, people are attacked in their bed by demons. What? What are you even talking about?
See the full clip at christianitiesmovie.com.
As a matter of fact, he talked about these demons scratching him on his arm and waking up and feeling this pain. Except in my case, I have the pictures of the scratches on my arm, which I will also embed in this video for those of you who have difficulty believing what I'm sharing, because it's so out there or because you just think I'm crazy, whatever the reason, I don't care either way. And so I wanted to share that with you. So the reason I'm sharing it is he is a credible person. So if I'm crazy, then he's crazy too. But we've been putting as much evidence as we can every week for you. The other thing that Mel and I discovered yesterday, and this is a hard one for me, is Dutch man, Arjen T Bouwman, the guy I dated when I worked with him at Philips, who asked me to marry him and I said no, and his ego could not accept the rejection, and in the dark has been plotting and doing so many evil things to my life. I can't even list them all, but it will be in the book. This person has been using my home for the HT word. Mel and I discovered that souls are being trafficked out of my previous residence. And I'll let Mel take the story over from here.
Okay, well, as we've mentioned before, that your current home that you live in, that we have noticed that souls were going into the basement, right? And then one day, a few months ago, weeks ago, I don't know, however long, all of a sudden the souls were going up, and you have footage of this, okay? A couple of nice. So we have proof of this happening. Now, we sort of put 2 and 2 together after putting our heads together and sort of, going through all of the things. And it's really quite interesting. And I have to tell your audience this is that Jennylyn is so intuitive that now that her, she's no longer bogged down by things that are happening, in her head, that it's almost as if the dark side tried to dumb her down, tried to mute her intuitive senses so she could not pick up on stuff. Okay, that's one of the things they do. Now, I just recently cleared something out which really brought a whole bunch of things to light, and that triggered this. She was sort of guided to share pictures of her old residence. Okay, and as I looked at them, 2 residences actually, a large home and the latest residence in California. And let me tell you something, a light bulb went off. Not only a light bulb went off, but my intuitive senses started to spike, and the energy was triggering me. And I was especially drawn with regard to the soul trafficking to the latest residence. Okay.
Can I say one? No? Can I interrupt you really quick? I want to share this with you guys. I was at work. I was looking for a photograph of something to show a coworker, and I stumbled on a picture of the big home I lived in when I was dating Arjen Bouwman. And something told me, send the picture to Mel. So I sent the picture to Mel. I said nothing else. She just got a picture of a house. And I got a text back and it said, whose house is this? It is, I don't like the energy on it. And I said, I'm not surprised. That was the home I lived in when I dated Arjen Bouwman, which, by the way, the master bedroom burned. And that will be in the book. The story around that will be in the book. And then after Mel's reaction to that, I decided, let me look for pictures of the most recent residents that I left when Sandra Tong was frequenting the property. And sure enough, I sent the pictures to Mel. I sent Mel a series of videos of all different parts of the house. And then I was able, after all these years, to connect the dots why Sandra Tong was constantly on my property. Because turns out she's part of the human trafficking operation. And I want to make sure I say it here so she knows we know. Okay, Mel.
Okay. So, anyway, the latest residence of yours, okay, that's the one that I sort of identified as the most likely to be part of this soul trafficking, is what I call it. Because again, they're bringing in souls, they're filtering it through different portals and places, and then they go somewhere. We don't know where. We don't have that information, and I don't think we really need to know. All we need to understand is that it is happening, right? So I said to my spirit team, tell me, like I always do, tell me what you want me to do. Okay. So I went into this place, and the first thing I discovered that it had sort of a basement, a lower level. And just like your current residence now, what I received was I saw a visual and got a visual of it being a portal to the underworld. That's the best way I can describe it. Okay. And that tipped me off right away. And I said, okay, it wouldn't have that if there wasn't something there, okay? It wouldn't need that if there wasn't something there. Now, we probably should tell your audience that there's other people living there, right? This isn't some empty, vacant place. There are people living in these homes. So anyhow, I don't know if they're affected by it per se, because they probably, depending on how intuitive they are, but they're not part of the operation. So they might not feel well in certain spots of the house, or may have certain, eerie feelings, but I don't think that they're really affected. In any event, what my spirit team then asked me to do is sort of cleanse, or, go through the space and do some stuff that I normally would do, that I have done with yours. And I said, okay, and they're showing me, they're actually, as I'm speaking to you, I'm getting a visual. They put this bubble. We call it a bubble. The best way I can describe it, it's almost like a see-through type of, like a bubble would be. You know it's there, but it's see-through around the home and the property. And that's exactly what your home has now, okay, where your residence has. And that bubble is sort of seals in and vacuum seals, this stuff. So in other words, when souls go in there, they're not going to go anywhere else. Okay, they're going to go from there up to, to wherever they need to go. That was my understanding. Now, interestingly enough, we've been watching to see if souls have come through on your end, right? And we have not been able to see that. And normally on the full moon, you had a lot of activity with regard to souls going up. And remember, I told you yesterday, I said, I don't know what this is going to do, because we really don't know how this is all connected fully. But I had a feeling that maybe if we catch the souls over there in California at your other residence, then they don't need to be routed through a portal to your place now, right? And processed is what I call them over there. And again, it's kind of weird to think of why would they need to do this, but here's the thing. We have to go back to understanding that you held.
Yes, before you say that, before you tell them that, 1 second. Yes, I was going to ask you to tie together why these souls are always where I am. But before you tell them that, one of the reasons that we were unable to monitor what was happening with the souls last night is the camera was turned off. It had full Wi-Fi, it was completely plugged in, and it didn't matter what I did, I had no control of the camera.
Yeah.
And Dutchman used to turn the sound of a radio up and down without even touching the button. And I thought he was some Superman because at the time I didn't know this type of darkness existed. And I just thought that my boyfriend was the most talented person I knew. Mhm. He was, except not the kind of talent that anybody wants their boyfriend to have. So I don't know. I'm not saying he's the one who turned the camera off, but the camera was conveniently turned off last night from 10 until about 6 this morning. I could not turn either camera on. So now, Mel, you can
Right.
tell them why these souls are after, why they follow me.
Well, yeah, just to reiterate, because you have a key within you, or you had a key within you. You don't have it anymore, and we said this before. The key was handed over to the divine, to Archangel Michael. Okay, so there's and for people to understand a key, it's an energetic thing. It's a purpose in life. It's something that your soul has come here to do, and they refer to it as key. Okay, so it isn't a key to open a lock per se, but that's kind of, that's how they refer it to. That's what they refer to. So the reptilians, and primarily because they're the ones who are doing the soul trafficking with the assistance of the demonic entities. And I just want to reiterate that again for your audience, is that the reptilian energies are superior to the demonic energies. Okay, so the reptilian energies they're always running the show. If the two are sort of working together, there's never a demonic entity that it will never be vice versa. Okay, it's always the reptilian energies that do, which is why Dutchman is of importance here, because he is what my spirit team refers to as half breed. Not their words, not mine. Okay, so but what my understanding is, and this is my guess now, is that by now bubbling in your other property, right, in California, the reptilians who normally show up in your residence every time this activity goes on, they were there briefly last night and then they left, right? They didn't come back, right? They were not there, right? So my thought was, well, if we can cut the activity off somewhere else, then these reptilians who really have no personal interest in you other than their soul trafficking operation, then they'll go somewhere else, right? They will go and your audience might think, so you're going to send them to some other place and these poor people. No, again, these people aren't affected. They're not affecting these people because they're not involved. These people don't hold keys. Okay, they probably never know what goes on outside of their home. Okay, in their yards in the middle of the night. Okay, so when this stuff happens, but yes, that is kind of where we are at this very moment. We don't know exactly what the results are until we keep watching the videos, right, and keep monitoring to see what happened. But I don't know if you want to elaborate on a certain noise that you heard last night, because I really believe, Jennylyn, I thought about this, that whatever happened in your backyard yesterday, or in the back, or the side yard, wherever this came from, was some sort of engagement between dark and light.
Okay.
That had nothing to do with us. And I believe what you heard, if you want to talk about this, was one of these things being captured, or you were able to hear it through the ethers. So in order for your audience to understand, you might want to go ahead. Yeah.
So guys, I have to tell you that Mel removed a huge clump of wires and stuff from my head on Monday night. It was put there by the Dutchman, and it was part of how he was monitoring me. It's been there, Mel said, for years, and it was very, very difficult for her to remove because of how long it had been put there. Guys, I know this stuff is out there and it's not easy to watch. No one is being forced to watch this stuff if it's too intense for you, okay? But once Mel removed this, I noticed some huge changes in my life. Like suddenly, my intuitive senses are on steroids and I just know things. Because when I was driving home that day and this thing touched my head, I was able to tell Mel, I think it's the mother of the little boy that was going to be used in the sacrifice during the night. And in the past, I get little bits and pieces. I don't know how to connect them. I have to call Mel, and together we try to connect the dots. But now I just know things. And so last night we were both tired, especially Mel, because I must have called her 100 times yesterday. And she was dealing with her other stuff, her family, her other clients. I feel guilty half the time when I call her because it's she alone up against all these dark people. And she's knocking them down one by one. I'm so proud of her. They're no match for her. But still, she's a human and she only has so much energy. So I took a bath and the Dutchman was messing with me. And I thought, I'm going to bed so he can poke whatever he wants on my body. I'm going to sleep. I'm not going to bother Mel. So I showered, I got in bed, put the movie on, I'm watching in bed, watching a movie, because this is how I relax. And I too am very tired, because as you all know, I'm dealing with this stuff and it's gotten intense the last 3 months. And I fell asleep. And suddenly I started hearing like a pig, like it was in distress, like someone was killing it or something. I could hear this pig. It sounded like it was in the backyard and it was very loud to where it scared me. So I jumped out of my sleep and I go, was I dreaming? And I turned the volume down on the TV and I could hear it clearly in the backyard, sounding like if a pig or some animal was being restrained against its will and it was wanting to go, it like it was being sacrificed. And I phoned Mel, which I would never call Mel at night. I have a cutoff point where I respectfully leave her alone. And if things get so bad, I text, but I don't phone her. And I'm calling her totally panicked. I'm like, Mel, I'm sorry, I hope you're not sleeping. A pig is being sacrificed. Something is being sacrificed in my backyard. And Mel, poor thing, was asleep like myself, and she woke up like, she goes, I'm yawning. I remember her saying to me, I'm yawning, and I felt like such a bitch, waking her up from her nap. And I go, I'm so sorry, but they just sacrificed something in the backyard, and I'm afraid that it's gonna kick all of our work back. And so then Mel checked and she did not hear. And then I couldn't turn the camera on. So I couldn't see anything. I didn't know what it was. And I woke up this morning at 3, still trying to figure out what the heck that was because it was real. And I know I heard it. And my neighbor I knew was out. Otherwise, I would have asked her. I'm pretty sure other people heard it. At least that's what I thought. So this is what Mel was just explaining.
Yeah. So I think you heard something through the ethers. I don't know if this was, let me check with my spirit team here. I don't think it was audible to others. You heard what was a struggle in the other world. Okay. You're that tuned in now because you don't have things. And I'm actually, remember I said to you that I keep getting this one energy that is protective of me, right? That is part of my team. I kept getting this energy information, this knowing in my head, and I thought, yep, that was it.
I'm getting chills.
Yes.
It sounded so real.
Yes, it was because this energy that I'm talking about, this protective energy, I'm calling it energy. That's what they want me to do. It told me not too long ago, a couple days ago, is that they were coming after me, that he was going to come after me more strongly now. Okay. And when I said, okay, so what do I do about it? I'm really calm because I know I'm protected. They said, you don't have to do anything. It's not your fight, it's ours. So I think whatever happened in your yard was done with not only with the intention of potentially affecting you, if that's the case, but also affecting me, which I know they have done before. But I think there's an aspect of it now where you literally heard, and that is when you say pig, I have to laugh, Jennylyn, because the energy told me it was like a stuck pig.
So it was a pig.
No, but the term was used like a stuck pig.
Okay, but
so therefore, yes. So if it sounded like a pig, then the energy wouldn't have told me that it was like a stuck pig. So yes, you didn't hear. Nobody else would have heard that. I don't believe they did. Okay, this is you literally heard something in the. Yes.
My God. It was so real. And you could tell from my voice when I phoned you, I was completely freaked out.
Mm. Yes. Well, you are online again. Don't you see? You're online. So I suggest to you to get used to some of the things because your intuitive senses are no longer blocked. Okay. They are no longer blocked. We have pulled this web out of this cobweb looking thing out of your head that Dutchman has put there years and years and years ago to keep you sort of in the fog, okay, to keep you your senses, your intuitive senses suppressed.
So that I wouldn't know what he was doing. Oh, we just got him in. He's listening to this conversation. It's so weird. So that I wouldn't know what he was doing, what he was using my vessel and me for.
Correct. Just think about that. Think about if you how can you manipulate an intuitive person, right? You have to shut off their connection to their intuitive senses, and he couldn't shut off, which is why you are so remarkable, Jennylyn, because the whole purpose or the real purpose would have been to shut you off from source, to bring you to a really low vibration and completely sort of bring you down to where you are not even having any hope anymore. And even though there were times in your life you may have reached those levels, but you were always able to rise above it, right? Because you had divine protection all along. You were never meant to go down that road that they wanted you to go down to. And with all of these things that we have now discovered recently, your intuitive senses, your full gifts are coming back online the way they should have been all these years. Okay.
And would you please let the world know that I am also heavily divinely protected for those satanic practitioners that are coming after me all these years? Stop wasting your time, Arjen Bouwman, Sandra Tong, you and your scavengers, and all of your workers that you're all using to bring me down. You know what you're doing every time you try to bring me down? You're digging the hole you're going into deeper, because you will never bring me down. I have done nothing to none of you, and I am not afraid of any of you, and I cannot be broken. You didn't break me when I was asleep and oblivious. Don't be such an arrogant ass to think you're going to break me now. And that's all I have to say to all of you trying to bring me down. Okay, Mel, we've run out of time, so I'll let you leave them with what you want to leave them with, because I'm going to insert the Tucker's video, so I didn't want to make the video too long. So I'll let you wrap it up.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for those of you who are still watching, right? Again, I want to emphasize that this is something that we're talking about not just to tell your story, Jennylyn, but we're doing it so that people can be aware that this stuff exists. And in my work, Jennylyn's not the only one who I've come across who has stuff happened, okay, or is stuff happening. And this is not some, science fiction type stuff or, some horror movie. It is real. And your audience, needs to understand this and educate themselves and know that even though they are believing in a higher protection, they believing in a higher source, that darkness still exists. And I want them to not be afraid of it if they encounter it, but seek help instead. Okay. I mean, that's the main purpose of us doing this segments, right? Is to just educate so that they know that this stuff exists and that they can take action if they find themselves in a similar position, or if they even have questions. This doesn't have to look the same as your life does. Yours is an extreme version of things, okay? And you've mentioned this before, Jennylyn, right? When people have bad luck all of a sudden and they don't understand why, or all of a sudden they have some sort of illness and they don't know what's going on, why, and no doctor can find out why there's an illness. I'm not saying that every time you experience this, or someone experiences that, this is a dark magic or anything like that, or a dark entity, but it is something they should be considering. Okay, it would certainly be on my list of things to consider if I was in that position. And that's basically what I want to leave your audience today with. So.
And last thing I'm going to insert here is the world is experiencing a lot of disclosure. I am not the only person out here sharing stuff like this. Look at Hollywood. Look at the political arena. There's so much of this that will be revealed. And it's so funny because timing is everything. I did not wake up one day and decide I'm coming to share this with you. I was told by my angels and my guides that I had to share this story. So I'm not just sitting here with Mel every Saturday or Sunday because we both have nothing else to do. We are both very busy people, but we are honoring what we are being told because the world is going through an evolution, and you can choose to wake up and go with the flow or get left behind, because we have no agenda and nothing to gain from this. We ask no one we don't ask you for anything. Mel doesn't even ask you to call her because she's busy. She doesn't need me to do this to get her people. So if I were you, I would encourage you to watch this with an open mind and remove cognitive dissonance, because you may find being aware might benefit you in more ways than you realize. And we will see you next week, hopefully, to tell you great news. I mean, today we've had great news, but next week maybe even better news, because we are getting to the bottom of this. Mm-hmm. We've connected all the major dots, and now we get the whole picture of what this is all about. We love you guys. Thank you for hanging in here and continuing to listen to what we're sharing with you. And we'll be back soon. Bye. Bye.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.